Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in March of this year, I posted my 2020 5-star predictions video where I also discussed some of the 5-star books that I had read thus far. So let's go over those books that I predicted I was going to love, and I'll let you know if I know myself well or not. I will be including clips of that video in this video. I would like to mention that I saw Books and Lala do something similar to this, so this is not a new idea. I would recommend watching her video though, she has great content. So the first 5-star prediction that I had on this list was Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I am just so enthralled when I read these books, these Shadowhunter books. And I'm really expecting it to be very nice to just get back into this world and feel the angst and feel all of the things that the Shadowhunter books make me feel. Chain of Gold follows the kids of the Infernal Devices cast of characters. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. This gave me all of the Cassandra Clare nostalgia feelings, while also just being fantastically written, well plotted, and the characters were just so endearing. So next up on my list was The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I'm expecting it to be so good, and I don't know why I won't pick it up because I actually own it and it's been on my TBR for like 3 months now, or 2 months now, and I think I'm just scared that I won't like it as much as Night Circus. This follows a boy named Zachary who discovers that there is a world inside of books. He discovers a book in his college library that has a story of an event in his life that only he experienced, and he kind of dives head first into this world. I did give this a 5 out of 5 stars. As predicted, Erin Morgenstern's writing was absolutely gorgeous. Her world building is absolutely phenomenal, and I really enjoyed myself during this whole read. So my next 5-star prediction for 2020 was An Enchantment of Ravens. I have heard very mixed things about this. It's pretty short, but from the people that have rated it well, I think it's right up my alley, very atmospheric. It's kind of a journey tale, and I'm really excited. An Enchantment of Ravens is a short novella about a girl who gets recruited by Fae to paint them, and when she is recruited by a Fae prince, she ends up painting sorrow into his eyes, which is a big no-no, and he take her to stand trial. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I felt like there really was no plot, and for a novella, you really either have to be plot heavy or character driven, and I didn't really feel like it was either. I did enjoy both of the characters, but I just didn't get the substance behind it that I really wanted. Following that, by the same author, my next 5-star prediction was Sorcery of Thorns. I've heard overwhelmingly good reviews about this, so I'm stoked. This follows a librarian who works in a magical library where there are very powerful and sometimes evil tomes locked up, and when a magician breaks into the library and releases one of these tomes, she is kind of implicated in a crime. I gave Sorcery of Thorns a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought that it was everything that I wanted from An Enchantment of Ravens. I felt like the villain was fantastic, very morally gray, very great. The character development was there and I enjoyed the plot, but it didn't have that like 5-star spark for me. My next 5-star prediction was The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This is a very divisive book. Some people really love it and some people don't like it at all and think it's very slow. So, well, it'll be interesting to see how I feel about it. This follows a young magician named Esta in present day who has the ability to time travel. And when the man who raised her and taught her her abilities sends her back in time to the 1920s to perform a heist to get a special book that could save her entire race, she gets stuck in the 1920s and she has to work with the people that she is set to betray. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked the world building. I thought it had a kind of like this almost steampunk-esque feel to it, and I really liked our characters, but I would have liked a little bit more character development, and I think that if the characters were a little bit more developed, then the romance and the betrayals and all of that would have felt a little more high stakes. My next 5-star prediction was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I haven't heard a single bad thing about this, so I'm really hoping it is as good as I'm expecting it to be. This follows Star, who witnesses the murder of her friend through police brutality at a traffic stop while he was unarmed, and she is battling with the two dichotomies of her life of being raised in a predominantly Black community while going to a predominantly white rich school, and being tokenized by her white friends and kind of being seen as the monolith, while also struggling to keep the silence on the injustices that she saw. But maybe she doesn't want to stay silent, maybe she really does want to speak up. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was absolutely stunning. I think Angie Thomas wrote in the mind of a teenager so well, and I also really enjoyed that while we were dealing with some really hard topics, we were seeing a lot of joy through her interactions with her friends and her family, and I just thought that this was absolutely beautiful. So my next 5-star prediction was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. So I'm really excited to jump back into this world with this. This is the second book in the Crooked Kingdom duology. This follows the same cast of characters that the first book did. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this way more than the first one. Leigh Bardugo has a fantastic way of writing her characters, developing her characters so that you love every single one of them, and while her plots might not necessarily be the best and they might be a little bit slow, I think her world building and everything else just makes up for it head over heels. And I liked this one significantly more than Six of Crows because the plot is a little more fast and action-packed than Six of Crows was. And then my last 5-star prediction was The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, and I'm really excited. I haven't really heard much about this. I've seen a lot of people excited to read it, but I haven't really seen much beyond that. This is the only mystery thriller on this list, and it follows a dual timeline, one being Viv in the 80s and Carly, her niece, in like the 2010s. And her aunt went missing in the 80s from this motel where she was working, and Carly wants to find out what happened. So she goes to this small town and finds out that this town kind of has some secrets. There's some weird stuff going on with this hotel, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I think I would have liked this to be a little bit more broad than it was. When I kind of read the synopsis and got kind of an understanding of what this book was, I thought that it was a little more broad, like it was more about the town's secrets, not necessarily the people involved with the hotel, which I guess was my bad, but it made it seem like all of the town was involved with this motel. So I think my expectations were a little high on that aspect, but I do think that the dual timeline was handled very well. I think that both characters had their own voices, and I really felt like you could see, like you were watching Aunt's de-escalation alongside the nieces. It was just very well done. So those were all of my 5-star predictions for the year. So now I kind of want to shout out some 5-star that I've had this year that I haven't really talked about too much. I do have a best and worst video of 2020 so far, so I'm not going to try to overlap with that one too much, but I'm just going to shout out some 5-star books that I absolutely loved this year. So the first book is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I have actually read The Poet X, With the Fire on High, and Clap When You Land, all by Elizabeth Acevedo. I have given all of them 5 out of 5 stars. She's a phenomenal writer, and she also narrates all of her own audiobooks, and she just deals with these like really hard-hitting topics in such an amazing way. And 2 of those 3 books, Clap When You Land and The Poet X, are written in verse, which is not something that I think that I really like aside from her abilities. I think it just lends so much heart and so much emotion to the story. My next honorable mention is Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Letter from a Black man to his son about his experiences being Black in America. I thought it was just beautifully done. I think the letter aspect lent so much emotion to the story, and it really just felt like you were listening to someone tell, like a guy tell his son about his life. So the next 5-star read that I want to talk about is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a dual POV fantasy story based on Middle Eastern folklore and history. The next 5-star read that I want to talk about is probably the most niche book on this list, and that is A Song Below Water. There's really a lot going on with this plot, and I think when this was pitched, it was pitched as kind of like a magical realism story. It's very weird. I think if you are not into weird things, then you won't like this. So this is a all over the place, high action, lots of plots, just very, very odd, weird, strange plot with the subplots of racism, using your voice, sisterhood, a lot of really important topics, but it's very weird, but just incredibly well done. And then the last two books that I want to talk about, I've already talked about extensively on this channel, so I will just shout them out. That is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, which is absolutely stunning, very well written, very original narrative, and I highly recommend. And then Black Girl Unlimited, which is also stunning, very well written, and in a very interesting narrative style. So those are the results of my 5-star predictions and some 5-star shout outs. Make sure you comment down below if you have read any of these books and how you rated them, if you liked them. I would love to hear it. If you're looking for more content from me, here is my Instagram, here is my Goodreads, both YT Ashley Reads, and that will be it for me. I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks so much.